So I'm going to start now.
Start. Start.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Page Turners with Nsuku. Today, I am super excited. I'm always excited, but today I am extra excited because it's a special day with a special guest. Today's our first author interview, and what better way to start than with somebody who is a young person making waves in South Africa and beyond. Today, we have Miracle Chawane. And I don't even know where to start to explain the power in this young man. But I believe that the next couple of minutes will try and just capture a glimpse, enough for you to go and get his book called The 5 Rand University. So, Miracle, welcome to Page Turners. Thank you
Thanks. So
for honoring us with your presence. And congratulations for publishing. I mean, what a feat! What a feat!
Tell me
Yes,
about it. Tell me about it.
it's great to see you winning. Yeah, I think before we even go further, I think I want to give you just a platform to greet the audience, but also just tell us who is Miracle, who is Mahlori, who is the Miracle perspective, and yeah. For those who don't know, and for those who are definitely gonna know, going forward, looking at where the trajectory of your career is going, tell us just briefly.
Thank you, Suku, for inviting me. It's I take it as a privilege for me to be the first guest in this powerful show of yours, the Page Turners with Nsuku. I really appreciate that. So my name is Miracle Chawane, as you already introduced me. For most people that know me from home, they know me as Mahlori, meaning
Mm-hmm.
miracle. And the story of how that came about is in the book. But today I see myself and I consider myself as an inspirational educator, an
Mm-hmm.
author, a professional public speaker certified by Toastmasters, and
Yes.
an environmental professional
Mm.
with an honors degree, currently doing my master's with the University of Pretoria, as well as an entrepreneur building a couple of businesses. So with that, I also have what I call the TMP Academy, and that is where we teach people and give them the skills they need to thrive in their personal and professional lives. And those are soft skills that include self-confidence, the ability to communicate, and just be a person who knows their value and know how to sell yourself in the marketplace as well as in their
Mm-hmm.
personal life. So that is who I am in a nutshell.
Powerful stuff. It's amazing to see the person you are and the person you're becoming, and also just the fact that you're paying it forward, already investing in other people to see them become the best versions of themselves. So, the topic of today, given that this is Page Turners, is your recently published book, The 5 Rand University, which
Correct.
is, like I said, it's a great feat. I don't think anyone just wakes up and just publishes a book. I'm sure it is quite the process. So before we even get into the content, the 5 Rand University, in a nutshell, what is this book about? We'll get to the cover because that is a story of its own. But
Because I
yes,
have this one.
exactly. I was gonna say that, it comes in different flavors. But yeah, I think just briefly, what is the 5 Rand University? How did it even come about?
Well, the Five Friend University, the ultimate guide to the person you are meant to be.
Mm,
This it's exactly what it is. And if you check with the dedication on the first page when you open the book, who the book is dedicated to, I
mm-hmm,
said the book is dedicated to my wife and my kids.
mm,
And you would wonder what that means because I don't have a wife and I don't have kids. But that goes to show what has happened in my life. I grew up as a person who is multi-talented, and I've always been exposed to different opportunities, different extramural activities at school, different roles at church, different roles in the community. So I've always been exposed. I've always been out there to a point where I lost myself. I felt like I was confused and I don't have direction. What am I doing? So that frustration went on for a long time until I lost my identity. As you can see in my introduction, I'm an
mm,
environmental scientist. I am a coach, I am a public speaker, I have all of these things. And
Yeah.
all of that confusion was a big confusion in my life, to a point where I asked myself, actually, why am I here? What brought me here?
Mm,
Why do I have to exist? And that is a question I asked myself later on in my life, and now in my 20s and whatnot. And I got into a space where I was really, really frustrated, wanting to understand, what am I here for?
mm-hmm.
And that is when I took on the journey to understanding who I am. And that's where the book really comes from, because in the book, I outlined how I went back to understanding where I come from, because that's a major part to understanding who you are. And that comes with experiences and situations that were difficult, some were great, but all of that come together to make you the person you are today. And that's where I realized that, actually, for me to move on to the person that I am meant to become, I need to embrace the past and use
Yeah.
everything I learned from the past to live in my today and prepare my today and use my today to prepare for who I'm meant to be tomorrow. And that's what the book is really about, to help people find their identity, but more than that, to find who they are meant to be. Because finding who you are is temporary, it's just a thing
Mm-hmm.
of now. In the next 5 minutes after what I'm going to tell you, you have evolved. You know something else. You are someone else, but
Yeah.
you keep transforming to becoming a person that's different than who you were 5 minutes ago. So who you are
True.
is good, but who you are meant to be is like a holy grail. So the
Even more
book
important.
really comes from that guide to helping you become the person that you are, or you are meant to be. And that's why I say dedicated to my kids. That is an issue of credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the Bible, it says, my kids will never ask for bread and I give them a stone. Because which parent would give their kids something that is not of good quality? So the fact
Mm-hmm.
that I would write this to my kids gives a sense of credibility in the knowledge I've put in here, the time I've invested into the product that I put and produced out of the book. And number two, it's because I want my kids to actually journey or take on the journey of self-discovery earlier on than I did. That's why it
Mm.
is a guide for them to understand who they are and who they are meant to be, and to live their life with purpose at an earlier stage in life. So that's what the book really is about. Long story.
What a pitch. I think at this point, I mean, I've already read the book, but just after hearing that, I'm like, yes, give me that book. Because I think you're raising very important issues about who we're meant to be, issues of purpose, issues of, being intentional about becoming, and the person that you're, yeah, trying to become. So I commend you for putting a piece of that journey, because I know the journey is still continuing, on paper, so that people like myself and everyone around, including your children and your wife, we bless you to get there. um,
I'll be like you
to,
one day when I grow
yeah.
up.
So, you raised the issue of who you are. And what I found interesting was, in the very beginning of the book, you give the reader an assignment to write down who they are. You tell them to write down, what are your achievements? What have you done? What experiences have you encountered? And I found that to be quite a powerful way of getting me to engage with the book. Can you maybe explain about, just explain a bit about the power of writing such things down, and why you felt that you had to get the reader to stop and just write it down, not just think about it, but to really engage, and what has writing down done for you that you felt you had to put it in the book?
Very interesting question. I love it. The chapter you're speaking about specifically, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's how to believe in yourself. I think that's the chapter.
Yes, very early. Yes, yes.
Correct. So that was an issue I was suffering from, because we are always told to believe in yourself. Believe in
Mm-hmm.
yourself. If only you believe in yourself, there's nothing that you can't do. Just believe in yourself and things can happen. Well, I got to a point where I struggled with that philosophy, because I was like, how do you believe in something that you don't really know?
Mm.
Most people do not know who they are. Most people do not know their capabilities. they do not know what they have to offer. And then you
Yeah.
come to this person who's confused and you tell them, believe in your
Believe
confusion.
in yourself. In your confusion, even.
So do you understand that it's a counterproductive statement to give to someone? It's an assignment that is counterproductive. It doesn't help. It frustrates instead of helping. Because
Mm,
I ended up being frustrated to say, okay, what's wrong with me? Because I mean, I'm trying to believe in myself, but things are still not happening. So what's the problem here? I'm still not confident in myself. Then I
mm,
realized that the process of believing in yourself, it comes with things that qualify you to actually be able to believe in yourself. And what are those things? It's things that you have achieved. Some of your achievements, the things that you told yourself, I'm going to do this, and you were able to deliver. Therefore, now you have a sense of belief in your ability to execute. So, what came to my mind then is to actually try to understand who I am in terms of what my accomplishments are. So, as I've depicted in the book, I wrote a circle around my name and I put my name right in the middle. And then I put ears around the circle, put pointers and arrows around the circle. And I say, okay, what have you achieved, young man? And I realized, okay, I've passed matric and it allowed me to get to the University of Pretoria. I mean, that's an achievement.
mm.
Okay, and I've also gotten a degree from the University of Pretoria. I didn't know I was that smart. Okay, I even went on to do masters. Wow, I went that far. So there is something about me. And now the more I wrote of all of the achievements that I've had. Well, I started a driving school. I'm able to teach people how to drive. What? I've taught more than 50 people how to drive. All of that gave me a sense of confidence and belief in myself. And that allowed me to actually even do more things. Because funny enough, the more things you have done, the more things it allows you to do even in
To
the future.
do.
So that was the power of actually writing things down for me. Because now every time I feel a bit down, I feel like I'm not capable to do something new, I would go back and say, wait a minute, check, who are you? And then I'll go back to my identity board. That is the circle of identity. And I see that I've done this. And some of the things I did, I didn't really have experience for. I wasn't qualified. And a story to maybe couple that is that I was employed as a business development manager at an environmental company. I never studied anything business development. I never studied anything marketing, but I was employed as a business development manager. And I was able to execute. Why? Because I came there with my belief. So now there's a difference between belief and confidence.
I was about to ask, so I'm glad you brought it up. Go ahead.
So the difference between belief and confidence is that belief comes with the faith you have in yourself, your ability to execute. Well, because of these things, the track record I have, I know I'm able to deliver, right? I have a belief in myself. But now I was exposed in a new environment of being a business development manager, something I've never done before. Well, I went there with my belief in myself to know that, you know what, this is new. I believe that I can execute. If I learn, I will know how to do it and I will do it. Then I went there with the belief. But then confidence comes in knowing what it is that you are doing. So I was not confident in my job as a business development manager. I just believed in myself that I can learn and execute after learning. But I
Ah,
didn't have confidence in the job. I had to learn how to do the job and then do the job. And in successfully doing the job, I started becoming more confident in my abilities to be a business development manager. It came with me being able to bring about more than R1 million in the company within less than 8 months of working there in my role.
oh wow.
That gave me so much confidence in myself because now I was like, yacht, man, I'm good in this thing. So now my belief helped me to be able to take the job. And in doing the job, I gained confidence to help me stay in the job and perform better. So
Ah,
The confidence is the knowledge of what you're doing, but the belief is the knowledge of your abilities, your ability to deliver, show up and deliver. That is the slight difference in between those two things.
Yeah, I'm glad that you highlighted it. I was thinking, I was like, what's the significance of knowing such a slight difference? But as I was reflecting, I thought about the fact that if you're feeling nervous about a certain task, you could easily let that derail you from even doing it. But if you tuned into the belief part where you look back at the things that you've been able to achieve, you tell yourself, I feel nervous, so I'm not necessarily feeling as confident, but I believe that I can do it, and I think
Definitely.
that's the importance of being able to just disaggregate those feelings and logically, approach a situation. So thank you for highlighting something seemingly so simple, but actually very powerful. And I think that's the beauty of your book. At least that's how I found that there's just a lot of simple, powerful truths that you just phrase them in such a passionate way. I must say, I commend you on that. I commend you on that.
Thank you.
And another thing that I also found interesting in your book was you went through, after talking about your beliefs and everything, and then you spoke about in the journey of becoming the person that you want to be, there are certain barriers or things that could be, barriers to you becoming that person, like your surroundings and the like. And I think one of them that you highlighted was fear. And you had a very interesting take on fear. You said you saw fear as a symptom of other things, but then you also saw fear as not necessarily a bad thing, that rather it's an indicator. And I want you to just highlight that. Of course, we're not gonna ask you to say the whole chapter in the book. People need to read the book. But I'm just trying to highlight some of the gems in your book that I hope will inspire somebody to really get this book and understand the greater context within which these gems are phrased. So yeah, just that thing about fear.
Interesting. All right. Let me start off by saying something quite provocative. Anyone who is fearless is a coward.
Hmm.
If you claim to be fearless, I see you as a coward. Why?
Hmm.
Because you have never really, or you don't ever exercise your courage. And what does that mean? That is where the statement of fear is not necessarily bad comes from. Many people paint fear as a bad thing. I mean, do not be scared. The moment you're scared, things are bad. You are weak when you're scared. Like something is wrong with you when you're scared. And these unnecessary pressures you are putting on each other as human beings. I mean, if it was not something that was to be felt, it wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be there. Everything that is there is to be felt, but not be. We shouldn't cancel fear. We should learn how to manage fear.
Okay.
So I, I I found that in our dealing with fear, we always tend to dismiss it, and that doesn't help you as a human being. So I realized that instead of looking at fear as a bad thing, how about we look at fear as a positive thing in terms of when we look at fear, look at it as an indicator. Number one, what does it indicate? It indicates that the journey you're about to embark on is quite significant and important for you. That's why you're actually frightened. That's why you're actually anxious and scared of doing it. I mean, if you are to approach a job interview and you feel very scared, why do you feel scared? It's because you know that this job would mean something to you. So you really care about this thing. It means something. That's why I'm scared,
Yeah.
right? So it's good. At least it tells you that this thing that you're about to do is important. The next thing that fear indicates is that it indicates that it's time for your courage to kick in. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is actually choosing to do it in the presence of fear. You know you're flipping scared of this thing. I know that I cannot approach this interview. I've never done it before. But you know what? I have to be strong. I will get the courage to do it. And the ability or the strength or the positive thing that comes out of you executing in spite of the fear, it makes you become a better person, because after conquering that fear with your courage, then you can look back and say, what, I didn't know
Mm,
I'm this good, I didn't know I was this big of a person. And the truth is that you were not big. The fear just made you grow with the application of your courage.
mm,
So that is the indicator that fear is. Because the moment we try and run away from fear, you never get to exercise your courage. You become weak and a coward. You can only be viewed as courageous and brave and strong when you see challenges, but you still confront them. This is what my
mm.
father once said. I asked him one day, I think I was very young. I didn't put the story in the book. I wish I did. All right. So
Hmm. Yeah, another book is loading.
you know. So I was. My father is a pastor, by the way. Didn't do well in introducing myself. My father is a pastor, and he's got a very big church, more than like 47 branches around South Africa. He's the founder of the church. So one day I was scared, because I was looking at how the difficult dynamic of leading a church that was interplaying, and I was just scared. I just started becoming scared of. Then I asked my dad when we were driving. I'm like, "Tell me something, Dad. Aren't you scared that one day all the key members in the church will decide, you know what, we're leaving, or we're not going to pay the tithes anymore? Aren't you scared that
Mm,
we're going to go hungry and we're going to be poor?" And then
mm,
he said something very profound to me. He's like, "You know what, my boy? Whenever I feel those type of threats that threaten my confidence and feel like something is scaring me like that, you know what I do? If I see someone threatening me, I quickly confront them and just do something to agitate them so that I see if they're a threat or not. What that helps me is that if it is something to be scared of, I quickly confront it before it confronts me, because if it confronts me, it will find me unguarded and it will
mm,
beat me down. But if I confront it first, then I remove it out of the way. I get to see that, oh, maybe it was not a threat, it was just me. I have
mm.
eliminated that threat. So that is the ability to allow your courage to step in the place of your fear.
I love that. I love that. So whenever you feel the fear, it's just courage o'clock, for
Exactly.
courage to
I
step
love
in.
that.
No, I'm glad that you brought up your father, because I was also going to ask. We can't move away from a central part of the book, which talks about your journey as a PK, a pastor's
Yes.
kid, and the challenges that came with that. And I mean, without trying to tell the whole story, you get to a moment of, it's almost like a moment of maturity or realization that, sure, the way you were parented might have been tough. There was a lot of pressure of perfectionism on you, but at some point you turn and you start to see it for the good, and how it's made you become the person that you are. So in essence, you extend grace, and you also say you don't go to your actually, let me not say that part. I feel like readers should find that one for themselves. But I think I
You
want
can
to
say it.
know, what do you
No, I'm
have to
curious.
say? Now you're curious. I'll tell you after the recording.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that for me was very profound. And I think a lot of us do grow up in very interesting circumstances, and they definitely shape who we become. But I want to know what kind of helped you to extend grace, and so to start to see the intentions behind the way you were parented, and yeah, and just what brought about that change, because there was resentment before that.
Yes.
So yeah, you don't have to tell the whole story, but just some nuggets. I'm just really curious about what prompted that change of heart.
That's a hard question to answer, because
Hmm.
it's interesting to know that I say in my book it begins with my father.
Hmm.
And the chapter just before, well, the last chapter of the main content says it ends with my father. That's because I grew up with my father. I I was always close with my father. So we had such a strong bond with my father. That's why a lot of who I am is really a result of my father. Most of my
Mm.
mannerisms, my character is really my father's character.
You look like him too.
So I'm just him, you know. I'm like 80% him and 20% me and other people and other things. But it's all him. But that came with its perks and also its disadvantages. And it had to take me to actually go back and take stock of my upbringing to
Mm-hmm.
eventually get to a point where I can find myself as an individual. Because I look like my father, I act like my father, I dress like my father, my behavior is just my father. So who was I actually? Because now the people also project me being the person who's going to take over the ministry. I mean,
Mm.
everybody sees me as this next second bishop in the church. So I didn't have a sense of identity. You understand? So I ended up resenting that whole thing in trying to find myself in the mix to say, actually,
Mm.
where am I in this whole mix? Because when I get to a place, I don't even have to introduce myself. Those who know my father, they'll be like, hey, we know you. We've
Yeah.
seen you before.
Photocopy.
And I'm like, come on. So all of that, it became too much of a pressure where I was trying to find myself in the mix. Who am I in this whole web? And it had to now get me to a point of, I think I was depressed. Just not diagnosed, but I did get to a
Mm.
point of depression. And now I started looking at my father in a bad light as if he was the enemy. He was the one doing all of these things to me. I mean, how could he even take me away from home and dump me in a different province away from my family? I didn't grow up with my mother. I didn't grow up with my sisters. I was just away in our other house in Limpopo. And he would just come and visit me occasionally, once or twice a week, and go back. So all of that, when it came back to me, I felt like this guy really hated me, man. I mean,
Mm.
everything makes sense. I used to look after the goats at home when I was still young.
Mm.
When I come back home without all the goats, yes, see, man, I would be blacksome. He would show me things every evening because I don't have time to play. The moment I open the goats to go and eat, mean I want to go and play. And that time the goats are getting lost. So when the
Mm.
time to get back them home comes, I
Um,
don't get all of them. I'm tired, and my father is waiting with a stick. He was very good with that. He didn't spare the he really didn't spare the rod. So
it's biblical.
I'm telling you, I'm also gonna do the same, by the way. So yeah, so all of that now, when I calculate all of these experiences, I started having some sort of resentment towards my father. I'm
Mm.
like, indeed, this guy hated me. I was supposed to be like the A kid in the family because I'm the only guy, and I'm in the middle of four ladies. I'm like
Mm.
this guy right in the middle. So why does this guy hate me so much? And it was only until I actually grew in trying to understand, wait a minute. Before you blame the guy, can you try and understand what he was trying to do from his
Mm.
shoes? And I realized that my father he was rejected by his father,
Mm.
and he fought hard to find his father's approval. And it was only when he was very old and when he had done something for himself that his father really now started to value him, because now my father was actually now taking care of my grandfather. And that is
Mm.
the only time that my father got to receive the love of a father. And
Okay.
what he was doing to me, it was the best way he would raise a male child. My father is a traditional strong man. He's an alpha male. He didn't
Mm.
want me to be soft. And that's what he was trying to teach me. He was trying to teach me responsibility, independence, and the ability to stand for myself. Even because now I am surrounded by females around me. He didn't want me to be a sissy. So he was giving me that tough love kind of thing. And
Mm.
now, because of trying to understand where he was coming from, I understood that, oh, all he did, it was coming from a point of love and protecting his son and developing this individual that is independent and responsible today. It was
Mm.
not bad after all. And all the things he exposed me to are now coming to my aid. The ability to speak in front of people. He was putting me on stage at a very young age. I hated it at the time because I didn't associated with this being a pastor's kid thing. So
Yeah.
he would expose me to stages. I hated it. I would get there and make jokes and just not be serious. But now
Mm.
look at me. I even wrote a book from my ability to
Exactly.
speak. So when I
Mm.
started looking at it from the positive lens, I started realizing, you are actually responsible for what you do. I'm responsible for what I take. My father was responsible for what he did, and I was responsible for how I took it. I
Mm-mm.
decided to take it negatively first. That's why I was feeling bad, depressed,
Yeah.
and feeling like this was a bad thing. But when I changed my lenses to take it in a positive light, I realized, all of this was for me. It was for my good. And that is what came out of that whole experience. And that is where the grace element came into looking at my life and my
Mm.
situation. And I think it also came with maturity because um, maturity is when, well, responsibility, the ability to take responsibility is what makes you graduate from childhood to maturity. So I
Mm.
decided to take responsibility of my life and how I see things. And that's why I decided to heal,
To heal.
so
No,
to
and here
speak.
we are seeing that independent, strong, outspoken young man that he was trying to bring about. So yeah,
Indeed.
we're grateful for that change. And you just harnessing those skills that he embedded in you. And I think
Indeed.
also responsibility comes through really strongly in your book. And so, if anyone wants to learn a lot more about that and your views on that, because you have this no holds barred approach to responsibility and taking charge of your life, which I love. So, yeah, that's also highlighted in the book. So, let's zoom out of the book for a bit, or rather, let's zoom out of the content of the book and just ask about the writing process itself. How did you go about writing it? How long did it take you? Yeah, let's start there, and then maybe you can answer the second part as well, which is which was your favorite chapter to write?
Just see, second question is hard. I think I'll be answering the first question while thinking about the second question. I hope I do justice to the first question. So, what's the first question again?
So, the writing process. How did you write? How long did it take you to write?
All right.
Briefly.
All right. It took me less than 2 months to compile the whole book and
Mm-hmm.
get it out and put together, printed and published. Less than two
Okay.
months. That the motivation was I was angered. I was challenged and
Mm-hmm.
inspired from within. Again by my father. That's why the last chapter is it ends with my father.
Mm.
So I was challenged by what he asked me this year about my life. Where you going with your life? And I'm like, come on, can't you see that I'm busy with my business? Like you're not serious about your life, my boy. You're not gonna go where the way you're going. So I went back to Pretoria with this anger, holy anger, so to speak. And I was like,
Mm.
you know what? I'm gonna prove to myself that I will make it. And I'm also gonna show my dad that I will make it. I'll defy all the odds. And that's
Mm.
where the writing of the book came together. But it came from a long time ago because I've always had the dream of writing books. I was just scared. I didn't know how to put it down. I think I started having the dream of writing a book 2015, somewhere there, watching Dr. Miles Monroe's videos and stuff like that.
Mm.
And I always wanted to write books because I realized at this point I don't have kids. I don't have a legacy to leave behind. If I die, it's over. It's gonna be over. That's it. If I die, it's over. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, I can't. I can't just come here and if I die now, because I mean anything can happen, COVID, anything. And if I die
Yeah.
now, is it gonna be over? I'm like, next, I don't wanna die. I wanna live forever. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put the book down, and
Yeah.
that's where the motivation of writing a book came down. So it came with my YouTube because I started my YouTube. I started being on YouTube in 2019, and all the content I was putting on YouTube, it was just me brainstorming. So I used YouTube not as a performance stage, but more as a rehearsal stage where
Mm.
everything that I was thinking of, I would pose it there. I was just fishing with my ideas to see, are they gonna catch some fish? Are they gonna catch some attention? So that is what I've been doing since 2019, throwing my ideas out there. How do people receive me and all of that? And I realized that, oh, the more I do this, the more my ideas take shape and the more I believe in the things I say and the things I have to say. So now, in
Mm.
compiling the book, I went back to the things I always talked about and to check my beliefs. Do I still say the same thing? Am I consistent with my word? And I realized I actually am consistent. I'm
Mhm.
even more consistent than back then. That doesn't make sense. But yeah. So I took all of those ideas and I put them together and I organized them in a way that produces a book. So the writing process, I don't think it was structured in any way. It
Mhm.
was just taken from things. Things. I'm not really a very organized, structured human being. So for me, even the compiling of the book, I was just shocked at the end of the book that wow, so the chapters are following each other like this. I didn't know.
It
I wasn't
makes
planning it like
sense.
this. I
Yeah,
wasn't
I mean,
planning.
you've.
So I was just putting them there. So that was
Mm.
the writing process for me.
Awesome. No, I see. But I mean, I think what you've essentially highlighted is a process in which you've been working on the ideas via your YouTube channel, and now you are sort of putting it together, and in a really great and just logical way. Some people write blog articles, so and then they put their blog articles together and they write a book. So it varies for everyone, but I think you are definitely sowing seeds through your YouTube channel. We will post the link to the Miracle Perspective YouTube channel as well for anyone who's interested to hear more and more beyond the book. And the second part of the question, which chapter was your favorite? Just mention it briefly and why in like a one-liner.
Yo, can I give you two?
Okay, we can take two. At least it's not like five.
Yeah, it could. I think it's all of them, but I think it's two that are coming to my mind now. And the first one is, "Who are you?"
Mhm.
Chapter "Who are you?" The "Who are you" chapter changed my life, man. Yo, that chapter is powerful. Jeez, that chapter
I
is
love that your
powerful.
own words are like hitting you as well.
Yes, that chapter is too much, guys. Who are you? When I wrote "Who are you," I was having goosebumps. I was like, yo, I was
Stretch.
shocked. It didn't, yeah. Because let me just give a summary of that the chapter. It was battling with how do you find your identity? How do you introduce yourself in places? And I was like, I don't know because I've got many talents. I don't know how to just limit myself to one thing and introduce myself. So how
Yeah,
do I
I
find
know the
myself?
feeling.
You understand? And then I
Mm,
decided, you know what, instead of getting this frustration, let me find out what God says about himself. Because at the end of the day, we are made in his image, right? So we should
man.
be like him. How does he define himself? And what popped in my mind, it's a revelation that when Moses was told to go and fetch the children of Israel from Egypt, he asked God, hey, God, who should I say sent me here? Because I mean, you and I have like a thing going on, but nobody else will understand this thing. So God
Mm,
was like, you know what? Don't worry about that. When you get there, just tell them, I am
yeah,
that I am has sent you. Mo
full
was like,
stop.
whatever that means, I'll just go and tell them. So you got there and he's like, yeah, I am that I am sent me. And whatever that statement meant, it was relevant for all the situations he was faced with. Meaning, God did not want to limit himself to any particular definition of who he was and
Mm,
what he could do. Because if he had made a mistake, a slight mistake to say, I am a deliverer, he would be stuck to delivering even when things didn't need his deliverance. So he had to open a huge possibility to say, you know what? When we get to this situation, you are what the situation or the platform requires you to be.
requires.
So
All
now,
right.
in coming to this interview, that's why I said when you asked me who I was, explain myself, I was like an author. I started with an author. Why? Because we're here because of the book. So the
Yeah.
situation requires that I introduce
Requires an
myself
author.
as an author. But if I
Mm,
have an interview at my job, as well, let's say I'm about to get a tender for environmental management or science or something like that, I'll go there and say I'm an environmental scientist. I've got a master's in
mm.
environmental. Never will I even
You're
talk
not bringing the book
about
like,
the
oh.
book in the first encounter. So I do not want to limit myself to a specific identity. I am
Mm,
what the situation requires me to be. So that is in a nutshell what who are you is. And the last chapter is it ends with my father. Believe in your vision. That is
mm,
like the it's a chapter that defines where I'm at currently in my life, and I call it a foundation. I'm at my foundation. And it's
mhm.
funny that at the end of that chapter, where I have defined the timeline, the guideline to how to approach life, at the end
Yeah.
of that chapter I said something very um, sarcastic. I'm like, this chapter will only make sense when my life starts speaking louder than my words. And I kept it
I
moving.
remember that line. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
that is
feel
like my
like
foundational chapter.
you're one author that really, really knows his book. I think the next time you come on the channel, because we hope that there will be a next time, we'll play a game where I'll just say random quotes and just ask you, is this in your book or it's not? And I'm pretty sure you'll get like 10 out of 10 because
I would love
you
that. I would love
you know
that.
your book that well.
Yeah, I would
Okay,
love that.
so I think we should wind down. I've always believed that a lot of writers are readers themselves. Leaders are readers. So if you had to recommend three books that you believe have influenced the person that you are, or just books that you would recommend somebody who's really on a path to take action on the things that you have written in your book, which books would those be? Top
Um,
three. You can take it to four if really there are that many, because I know you read.
interesting. I'm not gonna. All right, five books, four. Okay, let me see. The what's his name? Jordan Peterson. 12 Rules for Life.
Okay. Yes.
100%. 12 Rules for Life, and Hooked by what's this guy? What's this guy's name? Ah, man, just forgot his name. Just check Hooked. It's the book
Yep.
that
No, we'll
talks
put it in
about,
the
yeah, Hooked.
description.
Yes, and the magic of thinking big.
Mm.
Forgot the author. Yo, I'm a bad author. I forgot my
It
fellow
happens.
colleagues. I forgot my fellow colleagues. All right. So, yeah, the magic of
So,
thinking
12
big,
Rules of Life, The Magic of Thinking Big, Hooked, and
Hooked, and the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
okay. Yeah, you do quote
10X.
Grant Cardone a bit. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Grant
So those are
Cardone.
the four, and hopefully we
And
shall
the Five
be
Rand
reviewing.
University.
On the Five Rand University, I was thinking this is
Five
where
Rand
we start.
University. It's like number
But
one.
yeah, so if you want to action the Five Rand University, those are the ones that you should look at.
Yes,
Cool.
yes.
So yeah, I think right now the big question is what's next for Mashori? Anything in the pipeline that people should be looking out for? Yeah.
All right. I think. All right. Let me just touch on this thing before I move to that. I battled a lot in writing this book, or actually in marketing this book. I battled with who do I market it to? Who did I write this
Mhm.
book for? And I really I got stuck. But I realized at the end of the day, what was interesting, a review I got from one of the people who read the book is, he's like, you know what I found from this book is that, geez, bro, parents should be very careful in how they raise their kids. Because imagine now if your parents had flopped, all of those things would be coming out in the open right now. And they are pastors.
Mhm.
Just imagine if they had flopped. So that
That's
is
so
like
true.
the most powerful thing that I learned from the book, given by someone else to say, wow, indeed. And it came with the anxiety that my father had. My father had so much anxiety before the book came out because I asked him, he wrote the foreword of my book. And in writing the foreword, I gave him like a few chapters, the beginning chapters of the book, so that he can see where the book is going and to be relevant. And after that, because he didn't see like where the book was going to end up, where the book was going, and with how I was marketing the book, I was portraying him as the devil in the book, as the person
Mm.
who gave me this hard life. So he got so anxious and scared to say, geez, bro, was I that bad of a father to this guy? And he was very scared until he actually got the book in his hands and he realized that, wow, this book actually puts him in a very good light. And it's like, ah, so he was so much relieved. And that
I
is
was
where I
gonna ask
realized,
about that, but I'm glad you addressed it.
yeah. So I realized that the book really it's for everybody because more especially to parents, it will help you to raise your kids in a more responsible manner on your side. Because parents sometimes they can say the most innocent things, but then you don't know the impact they're making on the kids, and you don't know
Mm,
how far reaching that can be. So it can you have a very delicate job to do. So I think this book is good for parents and also it's good for individuals. Right now, because I'm in my 20s, I think it's perfect for anyone in their 20s because they're trying to find themselves.
yeah.
Funny enough, even over 40s, they say life begins at 40. And I'm like, why? What were you doing? Where were you all along? It's too late to begin life at 40. So I think the 40s really need this book because they're beginning their life. So they need this book because they missed out a lot, but it will definitely channel them. So that is who the book is meant for. And also, yeah, I was just passing by there and coming down to your last question of where are we going from here? What is the
This
next thing
is
for me?
also payback because when I was on your channel, you asked me this question.
Oh wow. So you waited for this long, almost a year for payback.
Right?
Really? Really, Ramaphosa? All right. So
But I am
what
curious.
yeah. What's coming, I think I'm more focused on building the TMP Academy because
Mm,
the TMP Academy is really a platform. I'm a person who loves education. I love education because I've seen the power of education in my life. So that's why I founded the TMP Academy, which is a platform, and as I mentioned in the beginning, a platform that is to help people develop the soft skills they need to thrive in their personal and professional lives. And that is the ability to communicate. But the most important thing, the ability to know who you are and the value that you have and you can offer to the world. So this book, it acts like a textbook to the Miracle Perspective Academy. So everything in the book has to go into the academy and we make it something that can be easily followed and
mm,
can be easily applied in one's life in becoming the best version of yourself. Because here's the thing, I was trying to understand to say, all right, why do I need to start this academy when when there are universities, there's schools, there's all of these things? Why do I feel the need to start another school? And I realized that as good as school is, and for the longest time I've been criticizing school, I was stupid. I change. I don't criticize school anymore. There's so much value and power in education. But one thing that school doesn't do is that it doesn't teach much of soft skills that are very essential in one's ability to thrive in their personal and professional lives. When you get your environmental science degree, you don't necessarily have the ability to communicate or even sell yourself in front of four people who are interviewing you for the job. You don't even know how to sell yourself for the job. So, how much good is your certificate if you do not have the self belief, if you do not have the ability to communicate the value you are bringing to the company? The very interesting thing that I see is I find it very absurd, more especially for marketing students, to be unemployed in this world of huge unemployment. And I'm like, how do you marketing students stay at home and say we are unemployed? What were you doing at school? Because you were being taught how to market. So your job is to help businesses get a lot of clients, but you are failing to get one client to employ you. So how should I trust you in getting me 100 clients? So I wouldn't employ a marketer who's sitting down saying there's no jobs. Because in my mind, when I say with the skills that you need to become the person that you are meant to be, you would look at yourself and say, okay, I know I've got environmental science a degree, but what do I have in me that can open a door in an environmental company or any other company and create my own work in that company?
Mm-hmm.
What I envision in my mind is a world where when we see failing businesses, people stand up and say, that is my opportunity to go and add my value so that when I grow this company, if I rescue this company with my skills, help them get clients, then I get to get a share of the company. Now we are co-owners in this company instead of looking for jobs. So that is what comes with the TMP Academy, the ability to boost people in their ability, because we are all born to solve specific problems. The
Yeah.
question is, what is that problem? So I am here to help people try and find those problems that they were commissioned to come and solve in the world. So that is what's coming. The TMP Academy is
Mm-hmm.
coming with a lot of value building content, and also expect me when you want, like, I don't consider myself as a motivational speaker, but for the sake of making things easy for motivational speaking, I'm available. But I call myself an inspirational educator because
Mm-hmm.
I give you education that inspires you. It's not just motivation, not just things that you are going to feel, oh, I feel empowered. You're not empowered after my speech, but you feel like I've gotten knowledge that inspires me to believe in myself so I can start executing. So that's who I am. If you need those kind of services at your company to boost your employees, at your business events, a motivational speaker to talk about things of self identity, self confidence, because the more you build someone's confidence, the more you can expect in their productivity levels. So confidence is really big and self-belief is really amazing and big. So that is what you can expect from the Miracle Perspective that has employed Miracle Chawane.
Awesome. Amazing stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing the TMP Academy growing to greater heights. How do people actually get in touch, whether they want to support the academy or they want to be part of the academy as, I don't know if you call them students, but mentors, mentees? How do people get in touch with you, even for the services that you provide, so that, yeah, anyone listening can get in touch?
So the first place you can go to in getting hold of me is go to booking.themiracleperspective.com.
Mm-hmm.
Bookings.themiracleperspective.com. So that is where you will be able to book a one-on-one session, a 15 minutes discovery call with me to check, can the TMP Academy help you? Can my
Mm-hmm.
coaching sessions help you? Because, hey, as much as I'm ambitious and all of those things, I do know that I cannot help everybody. And what I have to offer is not for everybody. So the 15 minutes discovery call allows us to see whether we can be of value to each other. So we can take, that's the first place you can go to. And then that's also the gateway to interacting with the TMP Academy, because from there we'll be able to suggest whether you need the TMP Academy or you only need the coaching services. And that's where it starts. The next place in getting the book, just go to 5rand.themiracleperspective.com. That's where you're going to get the book. And the last place you're going to get me is on all social media platforms. You can start on YouTube because that's where all of my content that led up to the production of this book is. And that is the Miracle Perspective. It's the Miracle Perspective on all other social media platforms. So you can get me there and you can follow me there. So that is who I am.
Awesome. I'll be sure to include these links also in the description of this video so that it makes it easier for everyone who's trying to get in touch. Just a quick one. How much is the book for anyone interested?
Anywhere in South Africa, including delivery, it's 370, including shipping to your doorstep. But if you are going to buy it around Pretoria and collect it from the offices here in Pretoria, you can come and get it for 270.
Okay, there you have it. Thank you
Also,
so much. Yeah,
sorry,
sure, go ahead.
the book is also available on Amazon, and it's quite expensive on Amazon because I actually don't want you to go on Amazon. I want you to come to the website. So it's quite expensive on Amazon. But I've got something special coming up, and it's very important for you to look out for that. That is, I'm going to be selling the ebook on Amazon for something for close to nothing. And the idea behind that is that will be my way of paying it forward. It's going to go to the TMP Foundation. That's for charity, to donate to
Mm,
kids in education. So all the money that's going to come from the ebook, it's going to be donated to the TMP Foundation to help students with their maybe textbooks or registration at schools, but anything that has to do with education, because I'm a biggie on education. I really love
mm.
education. So that's going to come up soon. Stay on the lookout for that. It's going to be a major campaign that's going to burst out, and it's going to put us in a very good space to help other people as well.
I love that. I'm glad that you added that. So you've got the Miracle Perspective on social media, the Miracle Perspective, specifically a YouTube channel. You've got the TMP Academy, and you've got a foundation coming. I mean, I'm just inspired, honestly. It's, yeah, I have so many more questions, like where does TMP perspective come from? But I think we will definitely have to have you here again because you clearly have a lot to offer, a lot to share. And once again, congratulations on your book, Mahlori. You have no idea how proud I am of you and how inspired I am at the person that you are and the work that you're doing. I hope it encourages everybody out there to go out there and do something. There's something powerful you say in your book in terms of where to start. You're like, just do something and see it through. And I see this YouTube channel for me as one of those things as well, just seeing it through. Thank
Nah,
you
man,
once
thanks a lot.
again.
Thank you
And
to
yeah,
you. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the invite. This thing I always say that we're living in a world that everybody wants to talk. We all want to say something. We want to be heard. Nobody's willing to
mm,
listen to anyone because we all have knowledge to share. We all feel like we're powerful in our own rights. So we want to be heard. So to find someone who is really willing to actually listen to you is a gift. And that's what
mhm.
you gave to me today. You gave me
Oh,
your ear, you gave me the platform to listen to me because as much as I shared value, I also got to learn a lot about what I was saying. Most of the things I was saying here, I never prepared them, but the more I speak, the more revelations come. That's how this thing works. You never prepare
mm.
these things, but the more you speak and the more you communicate about them, the more you grow in yourself. So you gave me that ability and the platform to do that. So I really, really appreciate it. And what you're doing is really, really amazing. Page turners, that is big, man, because they say if you want to hide something from a black person, which I hate so much, put it in a book. So you are trying to take it out and put it out there. This is really powerful. So I fully support what you're doing. Keep at it, and you will grow with it. Let's grow together. I'm inspired by what you do. I'm inspired by you, man. You're coming from overseas. Jeez,
Ah,
bro. To
this is
think that we're
about
doing assignments
TMP.
together. You're busy covering for me when I was slacking in my assignments. Ah, man, I'm very inspired by you. Thank you so much.
Oh, back in the day. But yeah, man, I'm glad and I am humbled by your presence and